Now, to get started, the way I have broken up this discussion, I wanted to introduce the components of a business canvas model. And then I wanted to discuss three case studies, time permitting, on startups which are using the business model canvas for, in a business to government scenario, in a business to consumer scenario, in a business to business scenario, right? How does this canvas or this tool help them identify various insights about their business model itself? Now, to get started, let me perhaps mention this, that all the big technology companies that you hear about today, right, be it an Amazon, be it a Google, be it a WhatsApp or a Facebook or a Uber or even an Airbnb, right? Many of these large technology companies did not start out as large technology companies. They started out probably, many of them started out in garages, in student dorm rooms, right? It started out in coffee shops, right? And it started out with trying to solve a very fundamental problem, right? A very fundamental and very common problem. The more people who have a problem, the bigger the need of that particular problem, and greater is the market size for that, right? So if I give you some examples, Amazon started out with saying that, okay, people find it really hard to find books, right? So can we sell books online? And from there, we know the story. And now, no longer, not only does Amazon sell books online, it sells pretty much everything, to the point where it had to develop its own set of technologies to be able to manage this e-commerce business. And over time, it started renting out its own computational capabilities in terms of creating a completely new cloud computing service. Right. Same with Google. Google started out with probably saying that, how can I organize the world's information? For those of you who may have seen the pre-Google era of Alta Vista and Yahoo search and all of that, when you searched for something in the primitive internet, let me put it that way, you would get results which may not have any bearing to your question or what you were really looking for. Right? So there was a disconnect. It took a lot of time to identify the right kind of information, because the pages would be ranked based on keywords. Right? Google kind of changed that, and over time, it's developed its own set of page ranking technologies. It went on to found a completely new industry of searching, to the point where Googling is a verb today. Right. Same with WhatsApp. A 40 people company was bought over by Facebook for $15-18 billion. Right. But what it had unlocked was, it started off again with a very simple problem of how to make it easier for people to communicate. Right. How can I create a fast messaging service that would just allow people to seamlessly communicate without having to, get into extensive validations, right? So it became so popular that it's got its own fan following, right? People are now doing business over WhatsApp, right? So all the big companies that you hear about, right? These tech companies, they started out with solving fundamental problems, basic problems that perhaps you and I face on a day-to-day basis, but we probably never thought about taking the next step and creating a company around it. Today, that ecosystem is changing. Today, there is a lot of support for such ideas. Even if you are a student or a young entrepreneur who wants to start out, there are a lot of resources available with the technology business incubators. There's a lot of mentoring support that is available. And it is very, very easy to reach out to your customers today. Imagine if we were talking about setting up a company, an e-commerce company, probably say 10-15 years ago, when you had to make an upfront investment in a lot of IT infrastructure to be able to put your website out there. Right. If I go back another 10 years, right, you had to have all your stores set up, you had to have all your equipment set up. So it needed a lot of capital investment even before you made your first sale, right? Today is not like that. Today you can get in front of your consumer pretty much on day one. So all these companies, not only did they grow, but then you have to understand that fundamental to each of this company was a very strong business model which was generating revenue for them, right? So if you look at Amazon, right, creating an e-commerce platform which made it easy for a seller to come on board, right? It made it easier for a consumer to search and buy a product, and therefore Amazon's business model is based on essentially commissions from sale of products on its marketplace, as well as subscriptions to Prime, right? So it's based on that, as well as advertising, right, promoting other products on its platform, right? Google, right? It's managed to create a sustainable business model out of showing you ads when you are doing all the other stuff for free, right? So when you are searching for free, it is still able to create a significant amount of ad revenue because it understands, it has data about your preferences and choices, and therefore it is able to give you very directed ads, right? Same with Facebook, right? Facebook understood the power of the like button. The moment you like something, or you not dislike, but the moment you like something, it shows a preferential treatment towards a set of choices, right? And based on that, it's been able to write all the algorithms to figure out what is your probability of buying a particular product, and therefore suggesting you that kind of product, right? So over time, what has happened is, for these organizations to develop their business model and make money out of it in a sustainable way, right? It has developed a lot of internal processes so that it keeps things going, right? So it's developed processes to make sure that updates are released on time. It's made processes to make sure that all the social media platforms, they have processes to ensure that obscene content does not come online, right? It's got processes to ensure that content is filtered out, right? So these kind of things, these are all processes within the business itself, right? And you have to understand that the business model that we are talking about is fundamentally how the company is creating value for itself while delivering products or services to its customers, right? Within this business model itself, if I go down into, take a closer look at what this business model is doing, what you will find is that there are several processes. There are internal code development processes, right, all the way from understanding what new functionality has to be written, how to check if the functionality has been completed, what is the coverage of the code, how is that code going to get deployed. It could also be other business processes like how does a user create an account. If they have to order something, who can they call up? How will the call be routed to a telecalling executive? How will they process? What is the script that they will follow so that they can answer the customer who has called up? All of these are business processes, from your marketing processes to your, from your marketing processes to your contract closure processes to your employee hiring processes. All of these are processes, right? And it's complicated. So the more involved and the larger the business becomes, the more complicated and intertwined these processes become, right? So it's important to take a step back and understand if those processes are working properly, right? And this is where the business model canvas really comes into picture and gives you a bird's eye view of what are the things that are important in the business. How sustainable is that business that you are planning to run, right? So it simplifies a lot of your business planning exercises, allowing you to maximize profitability because you can visualize your business model and unlock the potential with the business model canvas, right? So what is this business model canvas? Simply put, it's a strategic management tool that allows businesses to visualize their key building blocks and develop opportunities and close gaps in their business model.
And it allows them to develop strategies to improve their operations, increase their efficiency, and drive growth. That's a mouthful. That's a long sentence, right? What the key takeaways from that is being able to visualize the key building blocks of your business, right? What are the main activities that is happening in your business? In doing those activities, are you looking at all the right aspects? Are you focusing your energies on things which are important for the business or which will have immediate impact, right? So it's as I said, it's a strategic tool, and as part of the tool, what it allows you to do is identify, opportunities where you have not done things prior, or it also helps you understand if there is a gap in in your current model, and that needs more immediate attention, right? So it kind of allows you to prioritize and develop and prioritize your strategies for improvement, right? Now, while the business model canvas is a very, very good tool for reflection in mature businesses, even as a startup, even when you are thinking about your company, doing this exercise is a very, very quick exercise. Helps you understand the viability of the business model, right? So just to give you a flavor of what this model looks like, it's a 9-block canvas, or essentially you fill in 9 blocks, right? At the core, at the heart of the business model is your value proposition. What is it that you are offering? What is it that your customers are paying for, right? So that's the heart of the business, right? Your value proposition. And then on the right hand side, you have your expense related, your income related things, right? You have your customers. Who are the people who are going to pay for your service, right? How will you get to know about them? How will you influence them? How will they come to know about your brand, your service, whatever it is that you are trying to sell to them? And how will you know that specific customers want to buy your product, right? So that's your customer segments, your customer relationships, and the channels by which you get through them. Eventually, the objective of the right hand side is to understand how many people are likely to pay for your service, how much are they willing to pay, and therefore how much potential revenue can you make from your business. On the left hand side is the expense part of it, right? In order to produce that value that you want to sell to your customers, what are the things that you need? What are the key resources you need? What are the key activities that you need to do? What are the key partners that you need to have? And you have to understand that all of these things will cost money, right? Will cost time and money. In order to build up partnerships, it takes time and effort. In order to execute a process in terms of an activity, right? You need employees, you need even simple things like pen and paper, right? Or IT infrastructure. All of these are expenses. So therefore, on the left-hand side of the business model canvas, you have your cost structure. What are the things that you are spending money on? So because of these 2 blocks in the bottom, the cost structure and the revenue stream, it gives you a very good bird's eye view in terms of, is your potential revenue stream more than the cost structure, right? And that is a very quick way to understand if your business model is sustainable, right? If it is not sustainable, then with a very quick exercise, you can change your business model to perhaps target a different set of customers, or change the features you want in your product or service, right? So this is why the business model is very important. The business model canvas is very important. Now, I am going to go into each of them a little bit, right, so that you have a sense of what this is and how you can leverage this canvas in your application, right? So I'll start off with the value proposition, because that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, you are delivering something to your customer, right? You are delivering either a product or a service to your customer. So it is important to understand how you are packaging value to that, right? Sometimes, even if you think about a Diwali gift, right? So sometimes you may not have a very expensive product that you are gifting somebody, but just the way it has been packaged, right? Just the way it was delivered can make a lot of difference to the experience of the person who's receiving it, right? Now, products and services, we typically consider products to be things which are tangible, which are put in boxes, which are shipped, right? Whereas services are enjoyed as long as it is being delivered, right? But today, what is happening is you will find that both products and services are intermingling. You will find that in many cases, services are standardized and sold as products, right? So, for example, you go to a medical diagnostic center, and instead of saying that I have this, they can put together a package saying there is a lipid profile where all of these things are going to get tested, right? There's a full body checkup, and so what has happened is you have standardized a bunch of services and packaged them together, and that is available as a product, right? In many cases, the other scenario can also play out. You can have products that can have layers of customization on top of it, right? Once you sell the product, you can have an annual maintenance contract. You can have regular consumables that are being sold as services, right? That's how the boundaries between products and services are blurring quite a bit, and in general we call them goods and services as a conjunction, right? To give you an example of how this works, right, how these products and services vary, right, because we talked about value proposition, we talked about selling something to a customer. Often what happens is the way things are innovated, the way things are differentiated are very interesting, because there's a lot of choices that are available. To take an example, let me, I and I found a standard stainless steel water bottle, 0.7 liters stainless steel water bottle that was available for 179 rupees, right? But then I go to the site and I try to see what are the various features, and I found that there are so many options of water bottles that are available, right? You find water bottles that are airtight, you find water bottles that are made of ceramic, that are made of copper, that are made of plastic, that are made of glass, and any other material that you can pretty much think of. You find bottles with various kinds of features. So what is happening over here is different brands figured out that they could offer the same product of a container to carry water in different features, right? At different features, and because these are different things, that different water bottles with different features, what you can have is an entire price range, right? That is catering to different consumer segments. So there are bottles that are available for about 50 rupees, right? Bottles that are available for 800 rupees, depending on the material, and there are bottles which are available for over 3,000 rupees, right? So there are companies which are creating bottles, which is still a water bottle. It is still a water bottle, but you have different price range in order to satisfy the needs of different consumer segments, right? So you have to understand what your consumer segment is, who specifically are you targeting, and therefore your product design changes based on that, right? So you can play in the feature space, you can play in the price space, or you can play in the process space as well, right? In some of these water bottles have this, how much water are you drinking? So they're trying to motivate you to drink more water, right? So the purpose is no longer about is no longer just about a container that is containing water. It is about getting you to drink more water by incentivizing you in some way or the other, right? So there are water bottles with gradations on them, how much water you have drunk. There are even water bottles which are completely changing the nature of water bottle, the functionality of the water bottle itself, right? It's saying that it's a water bottle with an added filter inside. It's an active filter. It's an IoT-enabled water bottle that will remind you by sending you SMSs to keep drinking more water. Or it's a water bottle that's going to add, hydrogen ions in your water, right? Or remove copper, right? So it's a change in the paradigm itself, right? What is drinking water? Right? So you find that when you are thinking about a business model, what is the product that you want to sell? It really boils down to who your customer segment is. And accordingly, what you can do is you can take your innovation can happen in different directions. It could be with respect to the process, it could be with respect to the price, it could be with respect to the features, or it could be introducing it to a completely new market itself, right? Just to give you an example of these things, right? Just to give you probably an example of what a product innovation could be, right? I have a few examples, right? I have a few examples where something that did not exist has been made possible, right? Or that did not exist in that market, right? So Impossible Foods, it's got plant-based meat substitutes. Looks like meat, cooks like meat, tastes like meat, but made from plants. When Nest came into the market, they introduced this intelligent thermostats that allowed the thermostat to understand the homeowner's personal preferences and change the heating settings accordingly. Right. So these are all product innovations. Right? Tata Swatch brought out a very low-cost water filtration system. Right. So these are things where you have a new product that is coming out in the market. Or you could go with the position innovation. With the position innovation, the focus really is on a particular segment of your customers who may be interested in a functionality, right? So Volvo ads, if you find there's a strong focus on safety. You'll find a lot, most of their ads focusing on safety, how their cars are crashed, they can survive a lot of dangerous crashes, how they have auto lane changing facility if it detects an oncoming traffic, right? So you have companies where the entire messaging is built on that positioning itself, right? Southwest Airlines, when it came into the market, were one of the leaders of bringing on low-cost airlines into the market by unbundling its prices and enabling a flyer to fly from a city A to city B without the fringe costs of a full-fare airline, right? So that allowed it to create a completely new business model itself, targeting a different market segment, right? Many companies which get into process innovation itself, right? Where just imagine, when Just Dial came into the market, right? You could call them and say that I need this kind of a service, and that message would be passed on to all their vendors who matched that service requirement, so that they could get in touch with you and fulfill your requirement. Because you are getting callbacks from multiple vendors, it allowed you to negotiate your pricing so that you got the best service at the best rate, right? So in many of these cases, finding a resource, finding a cab, shopping online, all of these processes have undergone significant changes with the introduction of digital technologies over here, right? Same for companies which went into the paradigm change, right? Creating a fundamentally new paradigm with respect to their business model. The classic example is with perhaps a Grameen Bank, which said that banking was traditionally something that was accessible only to people who had a credit history, people who had who the bank felt could repay their money. Until Grameen Bank came along and said that people who have traditionally not been addressed by the banking sector, there is a lot more fiscal responsibility in that segment, and therefore they are more likely to pay back your money. Whereas a traditional bank is more likely to have a large have a large of crores of revenue loss for a bank. For a small finance bank, because the loan amounts are very, very small, a single individual cannot cause a significant impact on the bank's finances, right? So it created a completely new banking model itself, right? We are seeing that with technology companies, and with currently Chat GPT, you're hearing a lot about generative AI and its ability to give you very concise answers without you having to explicitly go out and explore, do research on those items yourself, right? So there are these paradigm innovations that are also happening. So what I want to stress over here is when you are thinking about your value proposition in the market, right? When you're thinking about what exactly is it that the customer is paying for, you need to make a decision in terms of where you are going to position your product, right? Where is the innovation that is going to come in? The innovation is typically not only on one of these quadrants. It's usually when you're thinking about a new things, it typically involves all the other aspects of it as well, right? So it is not a single line. My innovation space is not just it's skewed in one direction, of course, but it has aspects of the other innovation strategies as well, right? So that is very important to understand, because when you are thinking about the product that you want to make a product that is aligned to the customer that you want to sell it to, right? And that kind of brings me to my next segment, which is on the customer segments, right? Which is, who really is the customer? Can you define the customer? Can you visualize that customer, right? Whom you want to sell your product to, right? This is a very, very important task, because if you can identify, if you can empathize with that customer, then you can understand what their pain point is, right? Wherever you are seeing a problem, if you go and ask the person facing that problem, you will get a sense of where is the core of the problem, right? So in this customer segments, how do you do that, right? So here we are trying to essentially understand who your customers are and why they will buy from you, right? So this customer persona, creating a customer persona, is an exercise that is used across marketing teams, across product development teams, across sales teams, across customer support teams, because whenever you are doing any of these activities, you tend to think of the ideal customer. How would the ideal customer, how would that person responded in a particular scenario? And it allows you to create your marketing pitch accordingly. It allows you to change your pitch accordingly, right? If you are making a water bottle, right? If I go back to that water bottle example, if you are making a water bottle for a school going, for a young adult who might take it to the gym, right? You might consider putting some kind of a hook, because they want to put that water bottle on their gym bag, right? If you are making the same water bottle for a school-going toddler, you might want to think of the shape very, very differently so that a toddler can hold it. If you are thinking about this water bottle for an active sportsman, right, you might think about it very, very differently, right? And your product design changes, the material used changes, right? Even the way you sell that particular product will change, right? So that is why it's important for you to understand who that customer is. And the way we do that is by building what we call a customer personas, right? So we typically, when we build a customer persona, we look at, who's the most likely candidate to buy this. For example, if I wanted to build a IoT solution, I come from a background in IoT, so I will give a lot of examples about IoT. If I wanted to build a home automation solution, so I would think about who my ideal customer would be and try to map them out, right? So in this case, I have a fictitious person by the name of Arvind. I have some of his personal background. I have his age, gender, marital status, children, where is he located, what kind of educational background the person has. Why is this important? This is important because it tells me that this user is tech savvy. This user possibly spends a lot of time on their mobile phones or laptop or tablet, right? Therefore, I may be able to reach out with my offering to this person over these digital channels, right? If it was somebody who was not as tech savvy, then trying to advertise to that segment over WhatsApp or Facebook would be completely redundant. Right? If I wanted to sell a Mercedes, I would not be hawking that in front of a tea stall. Right? It would not be the right way to sell that particular product. Right? So it's important to understand what is the comfort zone of your persona to be able to sell to that person in that comfortable environment. Right? So we need to understand what their personal background is. We need to understand what their professional background is. The reason we understand the professional background is because it helps us understand what is the disposable income available with this individual. If this is a discretionary product, if this is a product that somebody is buying because they feel like buying it, right? It's not a forced buy. Then we need to understand what is the disposable income, right? The moment we do this persona exercise, we understand that Arvind has two children, right? So two children aged 10 and 12. So even though his salary is 18 lakhs per year, he has two school going children. So there is significant amount of school expenses that Arvind is incurring, right? So two school-going children, they're probably not taking a whole lot of tuitions, but in Bangalore, schools are expensive, so maybe spending about 25,000 rupees on children's education, right? If he's bought a house, we get to see that Arvind lives in a 3-bedroom apartment in a gated community, so he's paying a significant, he's either bought that earlier on or he's paying rent on that. So these are all things that take away from the disposable income, letting us know if he is willing to spend on a discretionary product, right? Is he somebody who is tech savvy, right? So that's where the user environment really comes in, right? What's his comfort zone? What does he want to do? He reads about technology. We get to understand that Arvind likes to read about technology. So we may be able to reach Arvind by advertising in a tech blog, right? Or we may be able to reach Arvind, we may be able to grab Arvind's attention by putting out a poster by putting out an ad in a tech magazine, right? And finally, we try to imagine a scenario where Arvind will be using this smart home automation system, right? We understand that Arvind is tech savvy. He likes to invite his friends over. So it's a possible scenario where we would like to show off his tech chops by setting up this beautiful home automation system. He wants to manage it himself, right? So it kind of gives us a scenario in which Arvind will be deploying this home automation solution, right? So if I understand that scenario, and that scenario I can get a sense of that scenario by talking to many people like Arvind, right, in that same customer segment, and trying to find some commonality in their answers. So in this scenario, once I know that scenario, when I am creating my marketing pitch, right, I would try to tell someone like Arvind that, look, if you buy my product, then you may be able to deploy it so easily. You may be able to, get the lights to change based on the kind of music that you are playing, and it is really easy. Here are a few APIs that I'm giving you. Because you are a tech person, you can integrate that and build your own app, right? So I could make that a pitch to him. Or I could go back and say that this is really simple to use. There are no APIs or anything. It's very simple interface. You just download an app and you are ready to go, right? So depending on my customer segment, my messaging to that customer will change, right? And that is why it is important to understand your customer segment. Of course, you can have multiple customer segments. You can have different tiers of products which are catered to different customer segments, right? So that's always possible. But what you must be really careful about is that the product that you want to build should not be targeted in a completely different segment, right? If you are trying to sell, cryptocurrency to somebody who is not tech savvy, right? Somebody who does not understand how to operate on that, it can become a very difficult proposition to sell that. It makes it harder for your marketing teams to be able to convince a customer to buy your product, right? So that's why the customer segment is important. The third part in this puzzle is the customer relationships, right? You get to know about your customer segment. You know that somebody like Arvind exists. But if I have to reach out to Arvind, right, how will I reach out to Arvind? What number will I call? Or which email will I send an email to? Right? So that's your customer relationship. When you have, for those of you, those of you who are coming in from a computer science background, I think the example of classes and objects would be very apt over here, right? So once you have the contact information of your customers, right? People or information that you can use to reach out to them, your customer relationships can start. And there are many ways you can build up relationships. You can have personal assistants. If you have a banking account with any of the private banks, in most cases you will have a dedicated relationship manager, right? So that's personal assistance. There is somebody who is dedicated, whose number you have, and you can call them at any point and say that I need assistance. Or it could be self-service, right? You come into the site, you pay whatever amount, you will get something shipped, right? So a lot of e-commerce companies, it's self-service, right? So it's not explicitly managing the customers. It knows that the customer is well aware of my products and services. They know how to handle things. They will figure it out, right? So something like a Uber, like an Uber, like an Ola, right? All of us pretty much know how to use an Uber today, right? How to book a cab. If I do not know, then I know somebody who can teach me. That is how prevalent it is. So in that scenario, I do not need to explicitly acquire customer databases, right? It's self-service, right? Or it could be through automated services, or many products, they kind of create communities, right? A lot of multi-level marketing companies, they create communities, right? So that they are able to support each other and spread the word about their products, right? In many business-to-business companies, the relationships are maintained through long-term contracts, right? And the contracts define the service levels that are to be accomplished, right? Who is the relationship manager? Who is the account manager? Who is the escalation point, right? So you have all that contact information that is available with the customer, so that in case of any issues, they can come back and get it resolved, right? So customer relationships are important, and there are many ways to go about it. There are many, depending on the business that you are in, you can have different forms of customer relationship, because every relationship, you have to understand that customers are it's very hard to acquire a customer. So no matter what, you should not actively dissuade a customer. These transactions are negotiations, and you really want a win-win situation. The customer to keep coming back to you because you are delivering value to them, right? And that's why you have to be a little careful, right? You do not want to let go of customer, because if you let go of a customer, what will happen? They will either go to a competitor, or they will not use the product. In both cases, it's you who stand to lose out on your business, right? So customer relationships are important, right? Now it comes to delivering your product or value to the customer itself, right? If you look at that, it's a typical funnel, right? As a company, you want to be able to reach the customer, right? But in order to do that, you go through two steps, right? The first is a influencing step, right? How does the customer get to know about your brand? Is it, if you go to a street hawker and you are buying something, you are not too worried about the brand. You are making a spot decision then and there. But if you were to buy a TV, if you were to buy a mobile phone, right? Chances are you will go online, you will look up all the reviews about that particular mobile phone, you will get to understand its specifications. So your choice to buy that mobile phone or not has already been made before you even step into a shop, right? You might go into a shop as a matter of formality, as the point to pick up from, right? So that's your delivery channel from where you are picking up the product. But what has happened is your decision to buy that phone has been done prior to that. With digitization coming into the market, with an underlying digital fabric being created within India, right? What is happening is products are no longer sold at the point of sale. products are actually influenced much beforehand in the funnel, right? So if you have to sell up your product to a particular customer, you pretty much have to get them by the time they are looking for a product in that category on their search engine. The first time they're searching for it, your ad should pop up. You should be able to start influencing their buying process from there itself, right? So this gives us some very interesting strategies in order to push out your brand, right? How is your brand or how is your product comparing in terms of reviews with other products, right? So not only is the customer is not going to come to your site to understand how good your product is. In most cases, the customer is going to go to a third-party website and look at their reviews about your product in order to make that buying decision, right? So that's why that digital influencing channel is so very important, right? But not all products can be sold over digital influencing channels. There are also traditional influencing channels, right? The TV ads, Byju's, right? Going ahead and sponsoring the Indian cricket team because it's the cricket is watched by a category which falls solidly in their product offering range, right? Parents who may be spending a day out, parents who enjoy a game of cricket, they have the time to enjoy a game of cricket, right? Probably they have the disposable income, or they have children in the house whose education they are thinking about, right? So that's why associating with the Indian cricket team probably makes sense to them, right? It's also a show of strength, saying that if we are large enough to be sponsoring the Indian cricket team, you can trust us. So that's the message that keeps going to the customer. They keep seeing the brand over and over and over again, and it starts to create a recall value within the customer. So next time when they actually go to the store, they're not hesitant. They know that this brand exists. They have heard about this brand through various channels. They have read good reviews about this brand. So the moment they are actually making that decision, it becomes more subconscious. And they're not hesitating when they're going to the store and picking it up, right? Even then, the delivery channels still have a significant impact on these spot sales. So things which can be sold on the spot, they still go through traditional influencing channels, right? The channels essentially, so to summarize this discussion, what I'm saying is that if you know your customer and their habits, then you know how to influence your customer, what is the right channel to influence them through, and also what is the right channel to sell to them through, right? Many things you may want to experience in a shop, right? In a physical store. Not everything, if you wanted to have a shopping experience, you wanted to try out clothes, right? No matter how many clothes you see online, you still want that experience of going to the store and trying out something, right? In that case, if that experience is seamless, you will go there again and again, right? So that's why understanding your channel becomes very important. Right? This brings us to revenue streams. You've got your channel set up. How are you going to make money, right? Where is your money going to come from? And before I get into revenue streams, I want to perhaps discuss a few fundamental concepts, right? Because I want to just discuss revenue channels, revenue models, and then get into revenue streams and pricing tactics. Right? So what we discussed so far is, when you have a marketing channel, you have a point of sale, you have a revenue channel. A revenue channel is a specific path or method through which a business captures value to generate revenue from its customers, right? So it's a channel, whether it is online payment, right? Whether it's a point of sale, right? These are essentially channels, right? Now, while there can be many channels, there is usually one model. A revenue model is something that encompasses the entire business model, right? So Google has an advertising revenue model, but it collects revenue from YouTube. It collects revenue from Google Flights. It collects revenues from Google Images, right? So these are all different channels, right? These are all different streams within that particular business itself, right? So I'll give you examples of all of them. Right? And revenue models are not to be confused with pricing tactics. Pricing tactics is, these are specific strategies that are set so that you create competitive advantage or gain market share, right? So discounting for that matter, right? Discounting your prices so that you gain a little bit of market share, right? So that is your pricing tactics, right? Whereas you want to get money by selling biscuits. That's your revenue model, sale model. There itself, you have 5 different brands of biscuits, and you are getting a revenue stream for each of those brands. Some brands may be more, some of your biscuits may be more profitable, others may not be as profitable, right? So those are the 5 different streams of revenue coming in, right? And this revenue channels, right? What happens is in many cases, you have direct models where you can reach your end customer directly, right? Your end customer could be an end consumer, it could be a business, or it could be the government, right? Or you could have indirect models of business where you are going through several intermediaries. You are selling to somebody who in turn is selling to somebody else, who in turn is selling to somebody else, and that is what I've indicated using the star over here, right? So it could be a B2B2C, a B2B to B2C, right? So this just tells us that there are several intermediaries in place, right? Because in many cases, if you start specializing in a particular product, you will build up capacity on that product, right? You will not want to diversify into trying to cover all the subsegments where the product is used, right? For example, if you are building an active pharmaceutical ingredient, you would want to sell that to other pharmacy companies who are then going to combine it and create different compositions out of it. And then they are going to be sold out under different brands, under different product names, right? So depending on where you want to position yourself in the value chain itself, right? Revenue models, as I mentioned, revenue models are attributed to the particular business itself, right? So, for example, Netflix has a subscription business revenue model, right? It's got a subscription revenue model because users can log in, they pay a recurring fee for accessing the streaming service, right? So, I think this is also very well understood. You can clearly articulate what is the revenue model of any of the known brands, right? So if you are thinking about your business, ask yourself this question: what is your revenue model, right? How will you make money from delivering that value? Will you get ads? Will you be having a subscription model? Will you have a freemium model, right? One thing is free, other things are there's a tiered service that is available, other things are people are paying for. Based on that, you will create your revenue streams. Just for the sake of completion of this discussion, there are 4 well-known categories of revenue streams, right? Whether you are getting the revenue as a service revenue, which is usually time-based, right? So if pricing is usually like if you have used it for 1 hour, you pay something. If you have used it for 2 hours, so it's typically time-based. Whereas transactional revenue is event-based. Like sometimes you bought 5 biscuits, 5 packs of biscuits. That's a transactional revenue, right? In many cases, there are longer-running contracts. These contract-based revenues are typically annuity-based, right? Annual maintenance contracts and things like that, right? And then you have project revenues. Project revenues typically is about having a statement of work, having a well-defined scope of work. You do it, based on the, you deliver the requirements as stated in the statement of work, and you get paid for it, right? So it is very, it's a fixed bid kind of a model, right? So these are the different ways you are making money. These are different kinds of revenue streams that you have. And in there, you can have different pricing tactics. All of us know about psychological pricing by Bata, right? If all of their products end with 99 paise. So, you price something at 99 rupees and 99 paise instead of 100 rupees, right? Tanishq, right? It positions itself as a premium brand, therefore it has a premium pricing to go with it, right? And Indigo, which has dynamic pricing, right? More or less all the airlines have dynamic pricing. Demand goes up, prices go up. Demand is not there, we'll try to sell seats at a discount, right? So you can have different pricing tactics, and overall the composition of your revenue model, your revenue stream, and your pricing tactics, along with the number of customers that you have, will dictate how much money you are making. What is your total revenue collection that is happening, that is expected to happen in the business? Because then you know whether you're collecting less than that or you're above it, right? The next block are the key activities, right? What are the things that you must, what are the most important things to make the business work? And these could be multiple things. If you are running a factory, right, then your most important activity is probably your production step. If you are, if you are a distributor, right, then your most important activity is probably the supply chain. How quickly are you getting your things out? Right? If you are in the consulting space, your most important activity is problem solving. Right? If you are advertising somebody else's product, then your most important activity is marketing. But you might be having all of these key activities as part of any business itself, right? So this is not an exhaustive list. I've just put out a list to help you understand that when you are putting together the business model canvas, you need to focus on what are the key activities that will go in. Along with the key activities, what you have also are your key resources. What are the most important things that you need for your business to work, right? Is it that you need a patent? Is it that you need some patents, trademarks, copyrights, or other forms of intellectual property that will help you make a better product? Or is it more of physical resources that you need, right? Whether you need an office space, do you need a factory floor, shop floor, right? Or is it that you need money and capital in order to do your business? Or is it that you need people to do your business? So what is the most important thing, or what are the most important things for your business to work? So it's important for you to understand as an entrepreneur, what are the things you should be looking for? Because if you are thinking about setting up a company and you know who your customer segment is, so even before you start the company, you can start acquiring all these key resources that you need, right? In many cases, much before we start a company, we interact with other people, we interact with people who could be our potential mentors, right? So that allows us to create that network beforehand. And that is essentially creating that advisory board means that we are looking for human resources, right? We're already putting a team together who can advise us, right? So those are key resources that you need, right? Now, many of these resources are physical assets. Many of them are going to be advisory in nature, but you may also have a few key partners, right? And key partners and suppliers who you need to work with as part of the ecosystem. This could be exclusive suppliers, this could be industry associations that you need, this could be standardization bodies that you need to be part of, this could be joint ventures that you get into. All of these are forms of partnership, because if you do a partnership, it allows you to borrow the brand value of the partner. It allows you to collaborate together to kind of access the similar market where you offer value propositions, right? It allows you to combine together and offer a larger value proposition, right? So if you're part of a standardization body, right, for example, if you wanted to build an IoT solution and you are part of 5G standards, right, or 6G standards, right, then your customers know that you have the technical depth in order to build the next generation of products, because you are already involved in the standardization efforts, right? So it gives a lot of credibility to your development process itself, right? Which is why in most cases you need significant number of key partners to be part of your ecosystem, right? And there's going to be cost associated, right? If you are becoming a member of a standard body, a standards body, or getting into a joint venture, all of them are going to be expenses, right? So you need to know what are the costs that are involved in operating your business model, right? So this could be fixed costs, this could be production costs, right? This could be your distribution cost, or this could be your customer acquisition cost. But at the end of the day, these are all costs, right? So when you summarize your entire business model canvas, right, essentially what we are looking at is trying to understand what is it that the customer is paying for, which is your value proposition. Who are those customers and why will they buy from you, right? Who are those specific customers? How do you build relationships with those customers? And which channels can you use to build those relationships? How can you reach out and influence your customer segment and build customers? How can you grow, and sustain your customer pool, right? And therefore, what is the revenue that you can generate from that, right? Where is the revenue coming from and at what rate? On the other side, you have your costing, right? What are the most important things to make the business work? What are the most important resources to make the business work? And who are the key partners and suppliers to make the business work, right? That gives you a sense of what are the costs to operate this business model. If your revenue streams is expected to be greater than the cost structure, well, congratulations, you have a business model. You need to go about executing it, right? I'm already an hour in, so probably what I'll do is I had a few case studies in mind. I'll probably discuss one case study and take questions thereafter, right? So let me take the example of a company, Smartify, which I absolutely made up this morning, right? And look at a business to consumer scenario, right? Smartify is a company that was founded, say, in 2023. It's a tech company. It was founded out of Bangalore, because most of the startups seems to be starting there. And it aims to be a leading provider of IoT devices for home automation services for the Indian consumer market, right? So that's the company profile. And it wants to specialize in developing user-friendly, affordable, smart home solutions for Indian consumers, right? So if this is a startup, right, which is thinking about getting into the smart home space, what would its business model canvas look like, right? So let me get into the scenario itself. What I said was that the value proposition for Smartify is that it's providing increased security, safety, comfort, right, automation and convenience. It's providing clearly articulated what are the benefits a customer might get from it, right? We earlier discussed about a customer persona in the form of Arvind, right? So let me elaborate a little bit or generalize the customer segment a little bit and call it, saying that this is an urban middle class homeowners or small business owners as well, or even elderly individuals. So I have 4 customer segments, right? I have 4 customer segments whom I need to reach out to. So how am I going to reach out to them? I am going to reach out through e-commerce platforms. So this is a decision of the company, right? Each channel takes up resources. Keep just your website, whether you want to invest only in social media marketing or do a combination or do direct sales. This is just a decision that your company has to make, right? So you can start off with one channel, the most important channel, and then gradually start to support other channels. That is not a problem, right? But whatever it is, as an entrepreneur, you must know what your channel is, right? Because only then will this exercise be useful. Then you have your customer relationships, right? You may want to have a call center or a self-service portal where people can, put up requests, right? You can provide telephone support. These are all options, right? So there are multiple ways to build relationships with your customer segment, right? Accordingly, how will you make money? Well, let us say that your revenue streams are going to come from the sales of IoT devices and accessories. or it could, if somebody is asking for a more extended backup, right? Somebody wants a home surveillance solution. They want to back up their, your standard subscription could be coming with backing up the last 10 days, 7 days data, but somebody could be wanting the last 1 year of data, right? So that could be a subscription-based service, right? You could make money out of installation and training services. You could be making money out of maintenance plans. So these are multiple options to generate revenue for Smartify. Now, what's on the cost side? It needs to have definitely. It needs to have the IoT device hardware, right? It needs to have, if it is since it's a manufacturer, it needs to have built its proprietary software and algorithms. It cannot be just a distributor, right? It needs a skilled technical team to go in and do the installations. It needs a supply chain of a good supply chain for marketing and sales and manufacturing as well, right? So, what are the activities that it will be doing? Well, it will be allocating a team for product development. So it's got a product development and innovation team. It's got to run campaigns so that the customers are aware of its products. It's got to have a customer support and relationship process. Right? It's got to have a supply chain management process so that the products are reaching the customers on time. And it needs to have partnerships with various kinds of IoT device manufacturers so that it can negotiate better prices with them. It needs a distribution because it will not be distributing the products itself. It needs a partner who will stock it at different cities, probably sell it out of there. It's got to have installation and repair services that has to be made available in various cities, right? So it needs partners to do that, right? Because it's not, as a startup, it's not very affordable for Smartify to start, to invest in service centers all across the country, right? So it might have a partner doing that. Right? So accordingly, the cost structure is broken down in terms of its R&D costs, its manufacturing and inventory costs, its marketing and sales expenses, its customer support and training costs, its licensing and regulatory fees, right? So that's where the costs come in. Right? So good. I think that's a quick introduction to how you use the business model canvas in order to create what would be applicable for you, right? For your business. Right? Now, the power of the business model canvas really comes in when you try to reflect on this a little bit, right? For example, if I look at this particular segment and I see that, hey, I have customer segments who is the urban middle class homeowners, perhaps not a lot of disposable income. So perhaps in my reviews, or in my surveys, they did not seem very interested in the product, or many of them did not know that you could have a home automation solution, right? So I can get an insight that there is limited market awareness and adoption of IoT devices in India. I'm trying to sell IoT to somebody who is not aware of IoT. So that's the problem. So I may need to invest in marketing campaigns to educate potential customers about the benefits and use cases of IoT devices. Perhaps even leveraging local influencers and testimonials. So that is one way to read this business model canvas and do a quick comparison, right? Where are the gaps showing up, right? I could look at saying that, look, these are people from my customer relationships or those people who have become my customers. I'm getting a recurring query that are my devices safe? Can my devices be hacked in? You have installed the system, it's blinking red. I do not know if it is listening to everything that I'm saying, right? So if you are getting that kind of question from your customer relations, right, if that is the feedback that you are getting, right, maybe there is a lot of concern about your data security and privacy, right? So you may want to not only develop a robust data security measure, but you may also want to create a very transparent communication with your customers. Regularly ping them, regularly send them a message saying that your data is safe with us. Your data, look, we just got a certificate, an audit certificate about our data security and privacy policies, right? So it clearly tells you that there was a gap in the market, there was a gap in your business model, and you have a mitigation plan for it, right? It allows you to solve problems with your business before they become major problems, right? There is more, right? You could go in and say that, look, given that my segment is elderly individuals, there is very high price sensitivity among the target market segment, right? Among the target consumer group. They want a smart system, but they really do not have a budget for it. They're very, very sensitive to price, and most of the customers or potential customers are buying the cheapest products rather than the best quality product, right? So there's very high sensitivity among the target segment group, right? So what you could do is you could take a price skimming strategy and offer different packages, right? The first package could be like, 2 sensors, 1 gateway, or it could be the next package could be 5 sensors, 1 gateway. The first package could have a 3-month subscription. The second package could come with 1-year subscription, and so on. So you could have different packages that are available at different price points, right? And it still allows you to tap into those market segments, right? So that's your business model canvas gives you this insight. What you choose to do with this insight is completely up to you, right? How you plan to use it is up to you, right? Let me take another example. Of trying to find something between the customer relationship and your key activities and your key resources, right? For example, on your discussion, on your customer relationships, right? On your inbound calls, when you're talking to your customers, you understand that the customers are looking for good quality plastic, right? They are looking for exterior placement of the surveillance devices. Therefore, they want it to be weatherproof, right? So if you have that feedback from the customers, right, you can start to ensure product quality, and you understand that ensuring product quality and reliability is vital for customer satisfaction. That is what the customers are scoring you on, right? You might want to say that your product was built by the best engineer, but the customer is not going to care about that. The customer is going to care about the value that they get, right? And what is it that they are getting a satisfaction out of, right? You could be providing 4K streaming video, but the customer cares about the product matching their wall color, right? So you have to understand what the customer is looking for, and therefore collaborate with reliable manufacturing partners and invest in quality assurance processes so that you can keep up with that innovation, right? Your continuous product improvement plans are taking into account the fact that you are constantly hearing the customer's feedback and building solutions around it, right? Another example, right? Because it's an internet connected device, because you're selling an IoT solution, right? There is a very strong dependence on reliable internet connectivity, right? So your product is an IoT product, it will need internet connectivity. So one way of ensuring that internet connectivity is going and partnering with an internet connectivity provider, right? Because if they are partnering with you and selling your products on your behalf, if your product is not performing because of bad internet connection, then they are to blame, right? So they are forced to provide good internet connectivity, right? So while you on your part design your product to work with varying connectivity levels, partnering with an internet service provider ensures that you are giving that peace of mind to your customers, saying that the internet provider will take care of any issues if it comes up, right? You know, the internet provider, they are selling this IoT-enabled service. They know that it will work on their network. That is why they're selling it, right? So as a partnership, you derive more synergies and more value out of the relationship, right? Right. India, right? India is a huge market, right? India is a huge market with multiple languages that are spoken. So if you have to provide customer support, you might figure out that having just an English-speaking customer support may not work. Based on your geography, you might need to have customer support in multiple languages that need to be available, right? So you need to this might give you that option of it might give you that insight, and therefore what you might do to mitigate that challenge is to establish a strong multilingual customer support team and leverage digital channels to provide prompt assistance to your customers, right? So again, I am repeating this time and again because I want you to start understanding the power of this business model canvas, right? The moment you have written down all these blocks with whatever information is available with you, you now can look at a lot of these cross relations, right? If you have 5 customer segments and 2 value propositions, there are 10 points to 10 combinations coming out of there that you will be forced to explore and understand if any one of them is your weak link. Take up corrective action on those weak links before it becomes a major issue, right? So I think that kind of brings me to the end of the first case study. I think we are running a little behind time, so I am not going to go into the other 2 case studies, but I'm going to briefly talk about them. What I wanted to really discuss is you can build a similar kind of a case study for. I had another hypothetical company called Energy Tech, which was providing energy management and energy saving services to for commercial building owners, right? And you could similarly build a business model canvas for Energy Tech. It would again give you very similar insights about it helps you understand the diversity in your customer base. It helps you to understand the need for building scalable energy management solution, since buildings are there for many years, working with buildings means that you have to work with legacy systems. There could be a lot of resistance to the adoption of new technology for fear of disruption, right? There's a lot of compliance that you have to get into, especially if you're converting a building into a green building, right? And there are multiple insights that you start getting out of the business model canvas, right? Similarly, if you were a company, AgriFly, right, which was in the business to government scenario, right, where you were essentially offering pesticide spraying service by using drones and selling primarily via NGOs or public sector undertakings, right? You could build a business canvas model for that, where your customer segment now changes to government agencies, state-owned agricultural enterprises, and so on, right? So you could again go ahead and do a similar kind of experience, getting to understand what are the key challenges that you might face in this kind of a setup, right? So irrespective of what kind of a business you are thinking about setting up or what kind of a company you are thinking of setting up, you will find this tool, this business model canvas, to be really powerful and helping you understand the major, significant about your business model, right? So with that, what I'll do is so I wanted to summarize the discussion saying that BMC is a strategic tool, right? And it helps you to identify the missing links in your business, giving you a very quick snapshot of your business viability, right?